Welcome to the Morning Nerdy News. I'm your host, Gray Falcon. We have lots of interesting news updates that have happened today, but I want to go into a few things that are going to be happening this week. First off, I am getting the EVGA for the Win 3 Ultra today. Well, at least it's supposed to be today. So keep an eye on my Twitter, The Gray Falcon, and find out when I'm going to go live with this, because depending upon when this gets delivered, I am doing a live unboxing of it either later today or tomorrow. Just depends upon when it actually shows up, because if it arrives at 9 o'clock at night, unfortunately that means it's going to have to wait until the next day, just because, I've got kids, got to make sure that they're taken care of, get to bed, get to school on time, so all that kind of good stuff. But otherwise, we are going to have a live unboxing of this, as well as I'm going to get it installed in my machine, and we will do some live benchmarks and testing. So just keep an eye on Twitter for all of that information and when that's going to be going up. AMD has their presentation for their new Big Navi graphics cards, so I will be doing a live reaction to that tomorrow. So make sure you tune in for that one, because we're going to get all kinds of new information, and we're going to dig through it, see what we can find that looks to be real, what looks to be fake information, because they have a history of exaggerating numbers sometimes. So hopefully we'll be able to get in there and determine some of that stuff with the new graphics cards, and hopefully we'll get even more information about the processors, because those look incredible, and maybe those have some sort of synergy that we just don't know about yet. And then before I get right into the news, I'm going to do a little bit of promotion for my wife. Go over and check out Geeky Gifts by Amber over on Facebook. She does all these amazing things. As you can see in this image here, these are all the different hats, blankets, all kinds of things that she does. Down in the bottom right-hand corner, you can see we've had celebrities purchase our product. You've got me in a teddy bear mask that I like to wear when I go out, and one of the clothing pieces that she has made and is wearing there. So make sure you go over there, check that out, and get a unique gift for someone this holiday. All right, so going ahead and moving on over into the news, we have a list of PlayStation 5 and Xbox games and how they'll perform provided by IGN. So I highly recommend you go over, check out the full list. But we've got some interesting data. We do know a lot of this information, but it kind of just brings it all down into one place so we can see it all at once. So we have like Astro's Playroom, which doesn't have any information, and then the exclusive Demon Souls at 1440p, 4K in fidelity mode, 60 frames per second default, but it will drop down to 30 frames per second in fidelity. So you can get 4K in this, but you are going to lose a lot of your FPS in order to do this. Then we have like Destruction All-Stars, which is dynamic 4K at 60 frames per second. Then Marvel's Spider-Man remastered in 4K, as well as Miles Morales at 4K in fidelity mode. Both of those run at 60 frames per second though, but only in performance mode. So if you're in fidelity mode, expect that to be halved down to 30. They're just not really showing that in this information, and they're getting free PS4 upgrade information that you can see. So if you get like Sackboy Big Adventure, it will have a free upgrade. If you have Miles Morales, you get a free upgrade, where Spider-Man remastered does not get a free upgrade. You have to purchase that either as the bundle or possibly as a separate thing later on. But then you get down in here to the games that are cross-play, or cross-platform, sorry. So things like Assassin's Creed Valhalla says 4K 60, and you jump over to the Xbox list, and it's the same thing. And if you look at all of these cross-platform games, they all sit in the same section of 4K 60, or 4K with ray tracing turned on will give you, for instance, only 30 frames per second on Devil May Cry. And this is the same over on the PlayStation side, where it drops down to 30 frames per second with ray tracing turned on. Or you can get 120 frames on both systems if you don't need the ray tracing performance. You don't want that extra graphic peel, the extra lighting effects. But this seems to be very common across both systems. So if you're out there trying to decide what you're going to get, at this point, it looks like that if it's cross-platform, you're going to get pretty much the exact same experience. They're not doing a whole lot of special tuning on these third-party games in order to provide, take advantage of the extra power of the Xbox One or necessarily take advantage of the faster hard drive on the PS5 or sorry, Xbox Series X, not Xbox One. Wow. So if you're going between these two, you're not going to get a whole lot of difference in these third-party games, which once again goes to user interface, first-party titles, what you want to play. And keep in mind that Xbox has discussed a streaming stick. So it's one of those things where if you go PlayStation, you could still get Game Pass and stream all of their games if you don't mind, primarily doing your first-person shooters over on PlayStation and then just being able to enjoy the other things over on Xbox and hoping that, Halo is going to work well on streaming. Continuing on with Xbox news, information from John Usnick, I hope I pronounced that right. I'm seeing a decent amount of confusion around the codings out there, so I wanted to jump in and address some of the common talking points in the thread below. So basically what's going on here in the new Halo, they're going to be doing these skins effectively. And he's talking about how some are going to be free, some are pay only, and you'll only be able to get them by paying for them. So microtransactions are confirmed in this. And while I'm not a huge fan of microtransactions, as long as they're only cosmetic, I don't have a problem with it. And that's what this appears to be. This is just change how your look is, and this helps support the game, helps support keeping the servers live. So this is one of those things that I personally don't have an issue with as long as it's continue to receive support. As long as it's not something that's out and then 6 months later is dead and all of a sudden all of your purchases are useless, then I really don't see an issue with this type of use, and I expect that Microsoft is going to put a lot of support behind Halo Infinite. We have an update for Among Us, and last week there was a hack that happened that was causing people to get these notifications that were vote for Trump things that were overwhelming their games and just blocking things out and preventing people from enjoying their play. Well, Innersloth has sent out a message saying, all right, we have 2 anti-hacks going out. Wave 1 did fix impersonation. This is why the prominent hack now is just chat spam and a mass despawn or black room. Wave 2 should fix both of these. We'll see where we need to go from there. So we do know that they are working on this. They have started to resolve this issue. It's just a matter of how much time it's going to take to fully eradicate these types of problems, because keep in mind, they are a small studio. We're talking about a game that costs $5 here, people, and it's been out for 2 years. They're not exactly ready for this type of overwhelming response in a game that's been out for 2 years and all of a sudden has this massive jump on a small development team. So be patient with them, and as they've suggested in the past, perhaps try and stick to private games if you're able to prevent these types of things from occurring. And then we have don't delete Facebook or you'll lose all your Oculus games for good. And I'll tell you what, this came out last week and it just kind of seems like a Facebook thing to do. But effectively, Oculus, if you don't have an account with Facebook already set up to yours, then when you create a new one, you have to have your Facebook linked to this. And this is true especially with the Oculus 2 if you did not already have the prior Oculus to have your account set up. And if you delete or even just disable your Facebook account, you lose access to all those games. Facebook has decided effectively that they do not want you to play games unless they are able to collect data on you. So this seems like a huge negative, and this seems like one of those things that, why the US government is starting to get involved, why Google currently is being investigated, and I expect Facebook won't be far after. And with practices like these are practices that are basically restricting access to your licenses, and makes you wonder why things like this even succeed. And it's because they're lower price. Let's be honest, they're lower price than going over to Valve and buying one of their products typically. You go out and get an Index, it's $1,000, but then you get everything that the Oculus Quest does at a higher level, of course, but at a much higher price tag, where they're over here saying, here's $300, play anywhere, and you can still hook up to your computer and get those higher end performances. But this is really kind of sleazy. This is one of those things that I hope we see go away in some of these lawsuits that end up coming out against these major companies. I don't necessarily want these companies to go away, but I do want to see things that prevent this type of thing from occurring, where they have so much control over your gaming that they are preventing you from being able to enjoy the games you want to play the way you want to play them. So for now, I'd highly recommend, if you can, go over to Valve, pick up one of their devices, pick up an older one that doesn't cost as much, and just enjoy it plugged into your system. But unfortunately, if you want that VR on the go for some of these higher end games, Oculus is probably the best way to go, and it has been. But just keep in mind, you are going to be highly tied to Facebook going forward until something happens to start preventing this type of thing. And in other Facebook news, Facebook is rolling out free cloud gaming service. So this is primarily just their Facebook type games, but they are going to have a cloud service that allows you to go in and play these games wherever you want to go without having to be on Facebook. It's kind of an app that they're setting up for you to go out and enjoy and play these games. However, they say they're not actually trying to compete with Google xCloud or Stadia or Amazon's Luna or even GeForce Now. They are just trying to get out there and give you more Facebook games available in a single spot. Apparently, this is also giving them issue, though, over on Apple again, because Apple, once again, wants all of these things to be individualized. A lot of these games could be things that developers have already made as apps and you could download anyways, but Facebook wants the money for that, and this is going to create another one of those problems where we have a large company coming in wanting to be able to put their stuff on iOS, and Apple says you can if you do it our way to ensure that we get our 30% cut. So we'll see what happens with that. And then in final news, we have an update from Tim Sweeney over on Epic Games in regards to Apple's position in gaming and their store. And what he says is, what's most disturbing about Apple's position is that they seem to truly believe they own all commerce involving phones they make, characterizing direct payments as theft, smuggling, and even shoplifting. It's crazy, misguided view. So this is their stance. They have an article up on The Verge where they talk to them and how they submitted a new response in the court. And they're saying this is antitrust. They're saying, listen, with the antitrust that's going on with Google, this is once again another antitrust thing that's happening on Apple's side. And they are actually going out of their way to declare that we're stealing from them, when in reality, this is our product. We cannot steal from Apple our own product because we made it, we create it, we're the ones selling it. You're the ones actually taking from us. So depending upon how you're viewing this, I mean, that is a good point in many ways. So it's not like either of them are actually hurting, but I can understand where Tim Sweeney is coming on this. And kind of one of those things where you see it with stores for video games and other things, the cut isn't necessarily the same. So let's say you go out to a box store and purchase your game. Well, when you purchase that system and you get your game, that game automatically loses $8 to $10 to the store that you purchase it from. So whether that be you're buying Assassin's Creed at Best Buy, or you're buying it on PlayStation or Xbox or any other store, if you're not buying it directly from Ubisoft, they're losing about $8 to $10 on that product to that store. And this is not really an outside the box idea. So Apple coming in and taking this cut is very similar to the same cut that these other stores get. Now, on microtransactions, I can't really say if that's similar in price comparison, because at 30%, that is quite a bit. But I don't know if you walk into a Best Buy, if their cut is only, 5-10% of the actual sale, or how exactly that works for these big box places that sell it. If you go into your local GameStop, it doesn't say how much of a cut they actually get from these types of things for buying that actual card. So it's a give and take. We'll have to find out more information as it becomes available, but one of these things that's just continuing to escalate, and we are seeing this escalation happen all over the place. Well, that's going to be it for today. Remember, if you haven't already, click the follow button here on Twitch. Otherwise, follow me on YouTube. I am Gray Falcon over there as well. And follow me on Twitter as the Gray Falcon. That is GRAY_FALCON. Until next time, have a good one.